It's rolling. And
Yeah. Good to see you.
good to see you.
We are in Springfield, Ohio today. So it's we're in Springfield, Ohio.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Such how beautiful things are here in lovely Springfield, Ohio. I'd rather see a candidate for Congress.
David Esrati.
David Esrati. So good to see you. Thanks for having us here in Springfield, Ohio. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your run for Congress.
Well, I've been a first generation. I'm a first generation American. My father's German, my mother's English, and my father was a journalist, so I sort of grew up asking questions, and a lot of questions. And my father was very good about answering them. And he was a political science major, and that was his background. So I never thought I was going to go into politics until I bought a house in Dayton, Ohio, and got in trouble for fixing it up. And I went to my city hall and I asked for help from the leaders, saying, this makes no sense. The house was a dump, and I do an improvement. Next thing you know, I'm in trouble. And so they didn't do anything. They didn't ask me anything. They didn't respond. They sat there like, just stone-faced. And so that got me involved in politics, and I decided to run for mayor. And that was back in 1993. You weren't born yet, right? But I was running, and so was another guy. His name's Turner. And people on the campaign trail had never heard of either one of us. And I saw firsthand what Mike Turner was about. In 1996, he arrested me for, I was doing a protest in a city commission meeting. It was symbolic speech. I was correct, he was wrong. He's a lawyer, he didn't know the law. And it took 2.5 years, but people still don't understand it. But I've watched Turner over the years, and this district has been gerrymandered, so it's unconstitutional. And it's been a huge margin until this year, where it's only a +4 for the first time. And I saw the candidates that had taken out petitions, and I was a little nervous that they really didn't know how to run a campaign. The reach I had because I've been a citizen. Ran in the primary, and I won. It was a 4-way primary, and I won pretty convincingly. Yeah. And the party has chosen not to endorse me, which the Republicans seem to think is a great thing.
I was going to ask you about this. You showed me you got a little bit of hate mail.
Yeah.
So which indicates that you're making some kind of splash. They don't spend money on mailers when they.
I couldn't afford to do these mailers because I don't have 27 billion funding me from out of state, which is what Mike Turner has.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got $1.7 million. He could send mailers all the time. Most of the time, he just sends Frank and has us pay and pretend it's not campaign.
Yeah. So, what was the prime motivator for you? Was there a significant event or something that happened or an issue that really drove you into this?
January 6th scared the living daylights out of me.
Yeah.
I'm a veteran, and I took an oath to protect the Constitution. And what I saw on January 6th, never mind what I've seen already in the 4 years of the Trump administration, and how I've seen people become emboldened with their hate speech, with their division, with absolute the fever that follows Donald Trump is a disease. And what I can't understand is where the Republicans have fallen in line behind a man who's been divorced 3 times. He's been accused of rape. He's been a grifter his entire life. More lawsuits. I mean, he is not a good man.
Right.
And so here he is leading this rebellion, and they actually marched against Congress. And then the fact that there were members of Congress elected in the same election who said that election wasn't good. At that point, you marched them out of the Capitol, and you say you're a seditionist, and sorry, your opponent just got your seat,
Right.
and we're done with you. And nothing's happened.
Yeah. Was Mike Turner your opponent? Was he one of these election denying guys?
He changed his tune. And before Trump ran, he was a John Kasich supporter. And he said Trump was unfit for office.
Yeah.
Same thing. However, in the last 3 months, he's been on national television calling out FBI and the DOJ for the illegal raid on Mar-a-Lago and saying that Donald Trump has, the broadest ability to release, top secret documents when in fact he does not. And Mike Turner's on the House Intelligence Committee and he's supposed to know better.
He does know better.
And he says he wouldn't take any of those documents home. But let me just say this. During Donald Trump's administration, we lost more human assets in the intelligence service than in any other time in the intelligence service's history. And Mike Turner does not seem to understand that. Mike Turner has lots of money for his defense contractor friends. He loves sending money to Ukraine, because his defense contractors are making money. He says he works for the base. And that's not who you work for us. I see it right here on this literature.
Yeah.
It said, my definition of national security: no child going to bed hungry, medicine for prices that won't kill us, affordable clean energy, locking up Wall Street bankers and crackers. That's the beginning of it.
Yes.
And we have lost our priorities. And voters vote against their own vested self-interest by electing these people. Where does the 1.7 million come from? Why does he know that many billionaires? How many billionaires do you know? No,
Not too many.
Okay, I don't know a one.
Yeah.
Okay, I do not know a one, and no one of them has
Right.
sent me the maximum campaign contribution.
Yep.
Yet he has 27 billion. I'll tell you another fact. Since 2000, Mike Turner got in office in 2002, but since 2000, America's gone from 300 billion to 619 billion. That's pretty insane. It
Yeah.
used to be pretty hard to become a billionaire,
Yeah.
but
for
not
sure.
anymore. Not
Yeah.
in Mike Turner's.
Yeah. So let
Let me ask, why is the Democratic Party not chosen to put their support behind it?
Well, that's a really interesting story. So, first off, our local the Democratic Party and the Republican Party in Montgomery County, which is the largest county in my district, has worked with an operating agreement between the two parties for decades. So, if a judge gets elected, they never get challenged. They basically are judges for life until they have to resign or retire at 70. So that's the number one agreement. Then they have an agreement that you don't run for sheriff, and we don't run for prosecutor. And they have this nice, comfortable arrangement. And they've been doing that for years. Now, starting back in 2005, I started writing a blog, Esrati.com. And I started exposing things that I was finding. One of the first things I exposed was when a company that got a lot of economic development dollars, that's corporate welfare, had 17 of their employees all give $1,000 to Steve Austria, who was the other congressman, another Republican congressman, all at the same time. None of them, except for the CEO, had ever given a donation.
Yep.
So that was like my first taste of something, tangible. But then I exposed, let's start out with the Republican sheriff at pepper spraying inmates while in 7-point restraint chairs. Now, it happened once, we knew about that through a leak. But then he said it's not a regular occurrence. I found another video on it, exposed it. I've exposed no bid contracts being given to people that shouldn't be given to them. I've exposed secret meetings, illegal secret meetings. I filed lawsuits, and the one that I filed a year ago is the one that the party really needs, because their candidate for governor, Nan Whaley, who is by far better than Mike DeWine.
Sure.
Okay? I'm not going to, I will vote for Nan Whaley. But Nan Whaley, in her administration, where it takes 3 people to vote, on April 30th of 2019, they the FBI and the DOJ announced a culture of corruption investigation. And they lined up 4 black men and said, this is the center of the investigation. One of them was a city commissioner who had been on commission forever. Turns out, I exposed that he was a confidential informant for the FBI and the Department of Justice for 3 years. And he ran for re-election while an informant when he had been caught accepting a bribe. He had committed a felony in office.
Oh, wow.
And he was allowed to run for re-election with an agreement that he would step down if re-elected, which he did. So some of those tapes that he made or others made in this investigation were played in the grand jury. Because Dayton is not a very large city, someone I know was on the grand jury and heard these tapes of him wailing. So I filed a lawsuit, a FOIA case, that FOIA's Freedom of Information Act, requesting those tapes. The FBI and the DOJ have been using laws from the 60s. I cannot confirm or deny existence of those as an excuse. And usually what happens in a grand jury is top secret. However, when it involves public officials committing crimes, it is not an unpenetrable veil, according to Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the decision from the 12th Circuit, 1987. So I filed this lawsuit, and I am still waiting. I had 3 federal judges recuse themselves. The 4th one tried to dismiss it on administrative grounds. She found some sort of, I didn't file this right thing.
Yeah.
So now it's on appeal to the 6th Circuit, and we are waiting. But the reality is, Nan was getting ready to run again for mayor 2 weeks before the turn-in. She changed her mind and resigned. Because if she had gotten reelected for mayor, and she is in fact a confidential informant, and she did commit crimes, well, they've done it 2 times now and created election fraud. So she dropped out. So I am working with the supposition that Nan Whaley is an informant for the facts and running for governor, accepting millions of dollars and running for mayor. And until we have those tapes and we can actually find out what really happened, I am a thorn in the Democratic Party's side. Now, also, the chairman of the Democratic Party, before he was elected to school board, he had a meeting of the school board, which was illegal, and then he had an illegal bus tour of some buildings where he wouldn't let us follow in with cameras. So he doesn't like me either. And then you can go on down. I mean, there's many more. So that's the real reason, and it's difficult to explain this to you because, like, the Freedom of Information Act is not something that.
What does the party say about why they're not endorsing it?
Oh, because I don't endorse their people on my blog necessarily. I have told them some pretty raw things, and when I was speaking in a church one time where they were having a political meeting, which is not really the right thing to be doing, and our mayor, the Democratic mayor, was sitting with the Republican sheriff to stop Unigov from happening, I went up to ask a question, and they interrupted me 3 times in 30 seconds, and then turned my mic off, and I said the F word to the preacher and gave him the 1 single finger salute. And I apologized the next day, but I'm sorry. Censorship and me do not get along.
Sure.
And neither does the mixing of church and state.
Yep.
So that's the long story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this, Dave. It's you said with gerrymandering, it's not quite as bright red anymore in this district. It's R+4. That's still a tough race to win. What's the plan to win?
Well, first off, let's be clear. This district used to be a Democratic district run by Tony Hall for years. And he saw the writing on the wall because in the late 1990s, billionaires had been gerrymandering and picking things throughout the country using ALEC and some other things to reformulate. And he saw the writing on the wall. He resigned, and Turner walked into this. And the district at that time was so red, he couldn't lose.
Right.
And it included 3 different media markets. It was very expensive to run. He has beat every opponent 10 times now. The closest has been 14 points. So most smart politicians will never run against him because it's futile. So I am the sacrificial lamb. But we have a history, and he despises me. So, one, I knew that he wouldn't debate me, that he won't face me, and that I know enough about him and his history that I can be dangerous. And I've got like the backlog of stories, including his first wife. He's had two, but his first wife owned a marketing company. Funny, because I own a marketing company. And while he was on the Armed Services Committee, she was doing work for the Army Corps of Engineers.
Oh, wow.
And she was doing work for the Home Depot Political Action Committee, which is out of Atlanta. So you've got to understand, I've been exposing this guy for years. I know how the money goes, what the circle is, and who he's been associated with. So I am not afraid of him, okay? But I have a body of work that is well known, and I have people that believe in me. And I know how many people don't believe in Mike Turner. However, a lot of people are afraid to come out and say it because he's a vindictive person. So my business has suffered over the years ever since he had me arrested, because he says, we won't do business with you. We won't give you, those economic development dollars. We won't help your business win contracts if you, in fact, do business with him. And that's been fine with me.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
I'm an Army veteran. I was a paratrooper. I am not afraid of Mike Turner.
So, if folks want to find you and follow along with your race, maybe support you, how can they do that?
So, first off, Mike Turner hasn't had a town hall in 20 years.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a town hall every day at 4 on YouTube every weekday. Different subject every day. Today we're going to talk about what does an endorsement do to me.
Yeah.
Yesterday we were talking about political ads, and I showcased one. But what I've done is created an interactive forum so voters can actually follow me and talk to me and ask questions. And I plan to continue once I'm elected so that I can tell them what happened in Congress, why I voted the way I did, what's coming up the next day, get their input, what I'm going to do tomorrow. I mean, I believe in hyper connectivity between the voters and their elected representatives. And so I've been doing that. But my blog, Esrati.com, has got over 3,500 posts and on almost anything. You search about almost anything a day, from where to eat, to where to go play, to who's who. It's on there. And it's been going that way for a long time. And so there's that. And my YouTube channel has over 450 videos, including ones like Goodbye Sunshine, showing the school board thing, or Dirty Deals done dirt cheap about how the school board had you're not going to believe this, but we actually had a guy come here who's an immigrant, get on the school board unelected, unchallenged, and he had a PhD from Moscow University, and he steered contracts. Like he bought 120 buses from a contract, and he ran a trucking company and did business with the same companies that he bought the buses from. As a school board member, you're not supposed to be involved in the purchasing decisions.
Yeah.
That was one thing. Then another thing, we had a beautiful school downtown, Patterson Co-op, and it was raised and turned into a greenfield. Well, he sold it to CareSource, which is the Medicare Medicaid provider, for like half of what the appraisal should have been on that piece of land. At least half.
Yeah.
And he has a home health care company that does business with CareSource. But what was even worse was I exposed that he didn't live in the district. And that is, you're supposed to resign. And he wouldn't. And nobody would touch him. Well, after I published this, an Armenian journalist keyed me in on something, was that he got $250,000 like a week after he got elected from something with the Guardian newspaper in England called Azerbaijani laundromat, where the Azerbaijani government was spending money all over the world to try to improve their reputation. And he hadn't declared any of this on his ethics statements. I finally got him to resign on the day of the election when he finally changed his voter registration, because he had bigger hopes politically, and now he's totally out of the picture. But some have told me that he was actually a KGB agent,
Oh,
Oh my
goodness.
or
goodness.
FSB now,
Yeah.
and that his father was as well. I mean, it was, I don't know if that's the truth
Yeah.
or not. But the reality is, we have had some crazy things happen today. And you can go and watch the video I made. And it cost me a lot of money to make these types of videos. So if you go to Esrati.com/Man of Mystery, you can watch the video about that. He committed voter fraud. He said he lived in a house on Maryland Avenue. He did all kinds of things that were illegal, and nobody lifted a finger. Because, again, we have corrupt politicians running a show in there. And the last thing they want is the curtain pulled back.
Well, David Esrati, citizen journalist,
Yeah.
activist, congressional candidate. Hey, will you sign the bus?
I would love to sign the
Yeah,
bus.
fantastic. That would be awesome. We'd love to have you
All right.
sign the bus.
All right, let's go sign the bus.
All right, great. Well, that is